Hey everybody, it's Anakin and Viridia Guru with Down the Scope, episode 29. Say that out loud with me. 29.
29. I didn't say it in unison.
Viridia, what the heck is going on this week?
I don't know. You know, I've been the hero of the downtrodden quite a bit. And if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I've been Deathspank. I have been just absolutely falling in love with this guy. And, it was one of those things where I saw it come out last year, and I was like, I wasn't a huge fan of Monkey Island, and it's made by the same guy. Don't ask me his name. I can't remember right now.
Tim Schafer, right?
Tim Schafer, I think. No, wait.
Isn't it?
No, Tim Schafer. No, Tim Schafer did Psychonauts, didn't he?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You're right.
So I was like, God dang it, this game looks so good. And I told you last week I put 1,200 points on there to buy Psychonauts.
Right.
And I just have them sitting there, and there's nothing I can do with them. I'm just like, so I went online and I did a search, and I was like, what are the top games on Xbox Live? And I was, looking for a role-playing game, something that would really just keep my interest. And Torchlight and Deathspank popped up. And I looked at them both, and I really just debated it, and it ended up coming to flipping a coin, And I was like, fine, I'm going with Deathspank. And I put that game in. Well, I turned it on, downloaded it, and from the moment he opened his mouth for the first time, and he said, "Greetings, winch," and I'm like, I'm sold. This game is it's one of those games that it parodies every game, or it parodies game systems. They are so subtle that if you are not a hardcore gamer, you're not catching it. There was one, I'm not going to ruin it, but to defeat the last boss, you have to make a sword called like the Penetrator 3000, and one of the responses is, well, it's not as good as the Penetrator 64. And that's an old, that's making fun of Nintendo for naming every freaking game 64 at the end of it.
Right.
And, it's just all of these gaming subtleties. It's just hilarious. They're making cracks at music from the 70s, 80s, and not only that, the gameplay is so solid and addicting that I immediately purchased the sequel. Right after I was done with the first one. So if you haven't got that game, been worried about it, that is an excellent $15 spend, and it's a good 200, easy 200 gamer score. So that's what I've been doing, man. That and Sammy, put up a video of Sammy. I introduced him, so if you haven't seen that, go over there and check him out, because he's for the first, literally, I can't believe he opened his eyes for that video. It was great. He barely opens his eyes right now, and he's kind of just looking around, observing Pokemon and whatnot. So check that out. That's my week, Anakin.
Yeah, that really is a great video, and I started watching it, right when you put it up, me and my wife watched it, and we were like, oh, okay, let's go see Sammy, we'll finally get to really get a good look at him and everything, and then, we're sitting there watching it, and it was like we just kind of sat down like we're going to just watch a normal YouTube video. We were like, oh, okay, cool, we'll just watch this real quick. And 15 minutes in, I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell? And I look down there at the bottom, and we're like halfway through, and I'm like, Jesus.
My bad, Anakin. Sorry.
It was funny though, because I wasn't expecting it, and we just got caught up in it. And of course, we sat there and went all the way through it, and it was just a great video. But it caught me by surprise, because we sat there, and it was like one of those things, we didn't even get comfortable. We were standing up in front of the computer monitor, because I said, "Oh, hey, look, Bernie put up his son and everything. Let's watch this real quick." And I'm standing up, and my wife was like in the middle of stuff, and she's just walking by, and I said, "Come here, let's watch this." And it was like, 5 minutes in, it's like you're kind of like still leaning on the table, and then like 10 minutes in, she finally sit down, and then it's like 15 minutes in, we're like, wait a minute.
What the hell is this dude ranting about?
Yeah, it was a fantastic video. You guys out there, everybody listening to this, definitely go check it out. It's a fantastic video. Viridia really, Brad, you really do, just pour your heart out, and everybody who has a chance to watch that is going to be rewarded for it. Very, very good video.
I appreciate it. I felt that these stories that came from it's so hard not to tell people, especially you guys out there that watch my videos and whatnot. I feel like you guys are a part of my everyday life. Honestly, I put this content out there. You guys comment on it, and I like to share stories. I always say we are storytelling animals. That's what we are.
Absolutely.
If you had to classify the human race, and that's what makes a good channel. And so when I've got a story to tell, man, I am all over it. And that one needed to be told. And I looked up at the time, and it was like 20 minutes, and I was like, oh, wow. And I was tempted to put an annotation when I put Sammy down saying, all right, then the rest of this video is me just talking, so you can turn it off if you want. But
no, it really is. It's good stuff, And in fact, I feel like I feel like there was so many people interested in my personal life when my kids were born. I mean, they just turned 7 months last week, and right. I never have really gone that deep into their part of my life on my channel, and I've been thinking about just doing something similar, just trying to because again my channel was kind of in its infancy, which really it hasn't really
right.
exploded much since then because of the hiatus I took for so long, besides the podcast. And there was a lot of people, there's tons of people still involved in my channel that ask me all the time how are the twins, how's things going, are you getting any sleep now, I mean, I hear about it all the time, and it's still very humbling that people take the time to be interested in your personal life like that, and I feel like maybe I need to give back and do something similar and let people kind of meet my two kids as well, a little bit more intimately like you did. So
yeah, well, and that's the thing, man. I love seeing, especially when you've got the kids, when people, because I talk about him all the time.
Right.
And it's just like, it's like that one, it's almost like, when you see a commentator on YouTube, or you hear a commentator all the time, and you want to know what they look like, and so and every one of my videos for the past freaking, months, I'm talking about the pregnancy, and then I talk about Sammy, and and then it's just like you finally get to see the guy,
right.
And it's rewarding because the dude is just to me anyway, he's just a perfect little bundle of greatness, and he, I felt obligated to do that, and I know I would love to see your twins in action, but with me, I can hold one kid up to the camera. It might be a
yeah, I can't work the mouse and the keyboard and the webcam and everything and still hold on to both of them. It's pretty crazy.
That might be a very strenuous task. They can hold their heads up right.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this is actually it's funny that we're even talking about this because again, I mean, I don't want to ever be one of these individuals where I don't there was people I've grown up with, and this is not aimed at anybody, okay, but the thing is when I grew up without kids, and a lot of my friends started having kids, and they, a lot of people in my on my family, or not my family but my wife's family and stuff like that, it's like when they had a kid, that's all they ever talked about, for forever, and it was like they acted like nobody else in the entire world had ever had a kid before. And it always bothered me because I was like, oh, God, I just, it was like, I just don't care. And it was like you even said in your recent video, it was like, you don't know, you can't relate until you have them yourself. So even after I had mine, I said, you know what? I am not going to be pushy about them. I'm not going to talk about them all the time. I'll reciprocate if somebody asks and tell everybody anything they want to know. But generally, I'm not going to be pushy about, hey, check out what my kids did today. Having said that, now, today, since we're actually talking about this, I will share a little bit. We actually had a major a breakthrough today, which is very exciting. Leela and Tracer are the names of my twins for all you guys out there that don't follow my channel, and maybe you're only subbed to Viridio, or maybe you're new to my channel and you haven't really heard too much about me. But I have twin boys and girls, one of each, and they just turned 7 months old last week. But the little girl, Leela, she just a few hours ago, okay, literally right while we're recording this, a few hours ago, me and my wife are sitting on the floor in the living room, and they can roll around on the floor. They actually turn over on their tummies and to their backs and all that, and both of them would do this. But Leela, she can't drink out of a sippy cup yet. She can't get that. She can't get it down. She gets very frustrated. She doesn't understand the suction that needs to be, that she needs to get the drink out. Tracer took right to it, no problem. Okay, and we were like, "Hey, all right, Tracer." And it was like, it's weird because one or the other one constantly will excel at something that the other either can't do or just isn't doing nearly as well. So it's neat to watch them. But just a few hours ago, I was giving Tracer credit because he was like, hey, you got this whole sippy cup thing going, and Leela just can't get it, Well, they're both on their tummies on the living room floor, and we got the little padded floor that you can buy. It's got the numbers and letters and so forth on it, So the kids are on their stomachs. And I throw this toy down in front of Leela. Now, Tracer's on his stomach, too, and he's kind of doing the Superman thing. He's got his legs out behind him, and, he's got his arms out. And he picks himself up. He picks his head and chest up with his arms, and he'll stick his arms out straight, and he'll kind of do the yoga pose, the upward dog. He'll kind of sit there, and, his legs are straight out behind him, but he ain't moving. He's just kind of stuck like that,
Right, exactly.
Leela, she actually, it was in the same pose. And just a few hours ago, we grabbed the video camera as quickly as we could. She pushed her knees up under her and got up on her knees and her hands, and she took two little movements. They were half slide, half actual crawl walk. She crawled about 2 feet forward and to get a toy that I'd tossed down in front of her. And then that was it. She never did it again for for the next few hours. But that was a major, that's a huge milestone. It was, and it was amazing that me and my wife were right there for that moment, together.
No kidding. So. I totally, and that's another thing that, to you guys out there who are, 16, even younger, it's just like, wow, what a build up to nothing.
I know.
To a parent, that when my kid, when he smiled for the first, that's on tape. I got it. I'm like, oh my God, he freaking smiled. And people are like, okay, cool. People do that.
Right, exactly. And see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I never wanted to be, one of those, that guy. Exactly. I never wanted to be that guy. It's like, oh, look at my kid. Look at my kid. It's like, everybody's seen them. Everybody's been one. It's like. But
as a parent, you become one.
Exactly.
It's not a choice of well, I'm not going to be that type of person. It just happens. And
exactly.
You can't help but be proud of, your own creation. And that's, that's what I talked about in that video. You can't, there's no way to fathom that love until it happens.
Absolutely. And it's funny too. I'll make a stupid analogy here for just a second. This is a horrible analogy. I'll probably get flamed for this. But, the funny thing is, just like children, okay, again, you and I are very new to this. It's just total coincidence that you and I both have had children, our first children, 7 months apart, and we're all, we're new to this. It's obviously a big deal in our life. But, it's just like you said, everybody has been around kids, or maybe if they're not around kids or whatever, they just don't care to hear about them to begin with. And that's perfectly fine. But, the analogy I want to make here is that, I just posted a video on my channel today, and it was about I had a free-for-all game in Modern Warfare 2. And I post a lot of free-for-all games. I play free-for-all. I love free-for-all. It's one of those things that I don't have to rely on teammates and all that. And I play it all the time. And everybody has played Modern Warfare 2, right? I mean, this is, it's an old game now. We're going on 2 years old. Nobody cares. It's like, okay, We've all played it. We all know. We've seen it all. You can get on YouTube and you can see every kind of Modern Warfare 2 match and every kind of record, that you want to watch or whatever. But I had, last night, I had a free-for-all match that I won. And this is not on Rust, okay? But I won this match in 3.5 minutes. And I went 30-7, and the next highest score in that match was 7-4.
Do you have it on tape?
It is on my channel.
Wait, you posted it?
Yeah, I posted it.
Man, I've been out of it. I got to see this shit.
But, the thing is like, it's like, okay, this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, I posted it, and I'm like, oh, my God, you guys got to see this. Oh, look at this. I won this free-for-all in like 3.5 minutes, But the thing is like, there's a ton of people out there going, so go here, I'll click this video over here. I'll point you to this video where this guy won a free-for-all in 1.5 minutes. And it's like, okay, I know. I mean, this is not, I know everybody's won these crazy matches. I'm sure somebody won a free-for-all in 10 seconds. If you search YouTube quick, for long enough, I'm sure you'll find ridiculous videos where people win, or do whatever it is that interests you at that time. And that's exactly the same kind of thing about having kids. It's like, hey, look at my kid just did this. And it's like, yeah, I know. So-and-so, oh, well, my nephew crawled at 3 months, shut up, Anakin, you don't know what you're doing. It's like, all right. So anyway, that's why.
Yeah, I totally understand, man. I do have to bring something up, though.
What's that?
I don't think we're appealing to our audience.
Yeah, I know. Here we are. We're talking about kids. No, I mean, the worst part is all these people are like, get on to the gaming.
Just shut the flip
up. Well, that's a good segue. So let's talk about something that was kind of a big deal this week. Just a quick blurb. I think it's certainly worth mentioning. Counterstrike Go, which actually stands for Global Offensive. Counterstrike Global Offensive. If you have not heard about this, Counterstrike was one of the largest first-person shooter game, multiplayer games ever. Okay, it's still massive. Now obviously, it's been overtaken, by things like Call of Duty and some of these other, bigger names out there.
It's become a very hardcore. A very hardcore game. It's one of those that it was very popular, but now it's hard to get into that game new, right, in its current form.
Yeah,
anyway,
and of course it was a PC title, so I mean, obviously it was very limited to, the audience was limited. You had to have a very good gaming PC at the time, and I remember I got into Counter-Strike whenever it first came out. I played it in 97 as a mod before it actually was ever even known as a real title. It was a very, very popular mod for Half-Life, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. And then when they finally ported it to the Source engine, and they changed the name to Counter-Strike Source, and they actually released it as part of the Orange Box. Or no, it wasn't part of Orange Box. It was actually a full release title.
Yeah, it was a standalone.
Right, and I bought it at that point, and I played it, day in and day out. This is actually long before I ever even owned a console. I didn't have the PS2 or even the PS1 at the time. I was a hardcore, nothing but PC gamer, and it was the game. There was no doubt. It was even out there, against the likes of Quake and Unreal, and a lot. Tribes at the time was also huge. Counter-Strike was just overwhelmingly huge. It was at the time, on the level that Call of Duty is now. But
for sure,
because Call of Duty is on the consoles, it's got obviously a much bigger audience, and it has been able to grow, astronomically over the last few years. But, had it not been, if Counter-Strike had evolved kind of like, Halo did or something, from the early consoles, like the original Xbox or something like that, I assume that we'd, instead of talking about Call of Duty, we'd all be talking about Counter-Strike right now, because I think that would have been, the big, multiplayer first-person shooter. But sadly, it never really caught on. It never really. I don't think it ever actually came to the consoles I know the Orange Box made it, but I don't. Think,
no, well, yeah, it did. It was actually for the original Xbox. They brought a port of it.
They did bring it over. Okay, and I guess at that point it just never caught on. I guess I don't know if maybe there was some input issues. I know Valve games on consoles have been kind of a mess. Every release I've ever heard about they never were quite right. But the thing is about this new Counterstrike is this is actually going to be built on the Portal 2 engine. And I say the Portal 2 engine, this is actually, the updated Source engine. It's still the Valve Source engine, but they've been band-aiding it and updating it and doing things to it over the last, 10 years, I guess now. But basically, Portal 2 was the latest iteration of that engine with all of the different modules and effects and features and so forth. And that's what they have built the newest Counter-Strike and this Counter-Strike Global Offensive. It's coming out for Xbox Live Arcade, PlayStation Network, and of course, obviously Steam. And it's supposed to be, I think, around January or so that they're going to, they say, of course, it's Valve, right? Who really knows?
Yeah, what the heck are they thinking? I mean, Half-Life 3, what the flip?
They're saying early 2012. I saw a couple other places that they were actually saying January. Who really knows since it's Valve? We'll see where that goes. But they're saying there's going to be new maps, new characters, new weapons. But they are actually bringing back, all of the classic content. Of course, Dust and Office and all the big maps that everybody knows. And it's also supposed to have some new gameplay modes. And obviously the social side of it, where you've got leaderboards and some matchmaking and, some other, social, things where you can keep track of you and your friends and all that.
Right.
So, I think that's actually pretty exciting. I was a Counter-Strike fan. I don't play it now, but, what about you? Are you excited about it? Are you going to get in on that?
I am. I'm going to tell you right now, I've said this a million times, but I was never a PC gamer.
Right.
I never actually, and still to this day, don't own a PC that's just up to gaming par. So Counter-Strike I never got into. Honestly, the first time I ever heard about Counter-Strike was on CSI. He was no lie. He was talking. I can't remember the character's name, but he was talking about how he was wanting to get this case done so he could go home and play Counter-Strike. Oh, and I was like, what the heck is Counter-Strike? And, the more I got to delving into it, this was before I was into military shooters, I realized it was something pretty big. And when Half-Life popped in the scene, I was subscribed. I think it was one of the major gaming magazines, but Half-Life was just being released, and G4 was covering the crap out of it. And just literally, obviously it's one of the best games ever made. And they're sitting there just going on and on about it. So when you get Half-Life involved, Half-Life came with Counter-Strike.
Right. And, it was the other way around. But Counter-Strike was a mod actually for Half-Life.
Right. That's what I meant. Yeah. It was it was pretty much attached to it it was Half-Life 2. It was attached to it.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, because Half-Life 2 was what introduced the Source engine, and then they released Counter-Strike Source. Right around that same time, they remade Counter-Strike as the Source engine.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant, man. And so it was, that's when I kind of got into it. Now I tried to play it, but like I said previously, it's one of those games where only the elite are there. So it's got the Metal Gear syndrome thing where it's like it's actually the Counter-Strike syndrome, but it's to give a reference, Metal Gear, if you go online now on Metal Gear, all you're going to run into are freaking just vets that will kill you. I mean, they know everything. That's why they play the game, is just they're kind of a niche everybody knows everybody.
Right.
You know, you go online, hey, what's up? You know, Mr. Blah blah blah, and hey, I know, you know everybody, and so it's hard to get into and it's hard to enjoy when that's the case. Whereas with Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, Halo, these are games that, you know, kids are hearing about all the time. They're picking them up. They don't know how to play, so you get at least get some people in there that aren't, you know, just pro at the game. So I'm hoping, and I know it will, bring an audience like that to Counterstrike, which will allow me to get good at it. You know, the thing is that Counterstrike has never had an ADS system, which I'm not in any way saying that it needs one.
Right. But
I like those in my shooters.
And that's the problem. You know, remember Counterstrike now is going on 12 years old. And so at the time, you know, the idea of ADS hadn't even been really put into as a gameplay feature. And I don't know if they're going to add that. They may, because, you know, they're going to have to go after the crowd that, you know, that basically that Call of Duty crowd that's used to that. So I do think that if they don't adopt certain things that, you know, have been part of these other shooters that have come around and evolved over the last 12 years, Counter-Strike may not catch on because it'll kind of be dated, you know, in a way.
Well, and another thing is when I ADS, you know, it's one of those standards. It's like, you know, in Mario set a standard for platforming. It's like if you've got a run button, it needs to be the B button.
Right.
Because it's easy to hold and it's easy to jump. It's like this seems like an obvious standard. And games like Battlefield, which they changed it. I'm not going to pick on Battlefield because it's an amazing series. But Battlefield's, you know, their default setup has you clicking the R3 button to zoom in.
Right.
It's become a standard with Call of Duty because of the ease. You know, the way it feels is so good to be able to click that and hold that left trigger.
Right.
Halo, you know, you've got your battle rifle, and you know you have to click the right stick to fire. That bugs the crap out of me. I want to be able to pull my gun up to my face.
Yep.
You know, in real life, you're not ever firing from the hip. And especially in a game like Counter-Strike, where it is a military shooter, I think that ADSing it should be mandatory. Now, a lot of people are going to just absolutely ream me for this because they're like, oh, you piece of shit, you never even played the game. That's just not the point. That's just me personally. Now, I'm going to probably put this game in and not even care about it. That's just one of my concerns now.
Yeah. Well, the good news is it's a fairly cheap buy-in. You know, this is going to be it's an arcade. You know, it's an arcade release. So you know the rules of Xbox Live Arcade is they can't charge more than $20 for anything anyway, and that's what this title is going to go for. So you know you've got the $20 deal there. Obviously, PSN is going to follow suit, and then Steam I'm sure will probably even be, who knows, cheaper over there. You know, they're probably going to cater to the PC audience like they always have. But but it should be interesting. You know, I mean, it's a fairly cheap buy-in. I think there's a lot of replay value there. You know, they obviously there's no single player. You know, they may do some bot, or something. You know, kind of like they did with the combat training in Black Ops. You know, they may do something like that. I doubt it. You know, that game is nothing but a multiplayer arena-style shooter. They give you a very simple map, you know, and then they give you either a very simple objective, you know, or it is a straight-out just team deathmatch or free-for-all, and that's it, you know, and you just go, you know, you spawn and you run around and shoot people. I mean, you know, it doesn't get much more simple than that. And I think that was actually why it seemed to work so well, you know.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. I mean, I agree. I can't wait to play it. I can't wait to see the Portal engine. That those graphics are great. So I can't wait to see what it looks like. It's going to look pretty good.
Yeah.
The lighting and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm excited. Are there any screenshots on the net that we can look at?
Nothing yet. You know, it's only been an announcement. It was very new. In fact, I think the announcement was just yesterday. And you know, so it's still pretty fresh. They really haven't said too much more about it, but that was the big release, so should be interesting. Yeah,
sounds. I mean, I can't wait for it. I didn't even know about it till now, but you know, any shooter that's as popular as Counter-Strike is worth picking up, especially for that price. So
yeah,
so for sure. I mean, we'll give it a go. I'll give anything a go. I've been literally the Xbox Live Arcade and the PSN store have been my, that's where I've been these past couple weeks. I'm not going out to the store and looking for games. I'm looking on here for them, looking for those hidden gems because they're there. You just got to find them.
Right. Well, let's move on to another topic that we were going to talk about. Today we've got. We had an interesting email come in to us. Last week, for whatever reason, I don't know what was going on with our email, but we got flooded this week after we mentioned that we didn't get anything.
Yeah, we did.
So we got an email here from Josh Matt MHS. And he's a self-proclaimed hard-scoping banana.
No, Jesus. They just Josh, keep adding to the epicness of our what would you call that?
I guess that's our viewer base or our listener base.
Yeah,
it's like that's their title now. I mean, they're all bananas.
They're all bananas and hard scoping banana eaters or whatever he said he was.
It's like insanity. But, he sent us a great little email here. I'm going to read it and kind of paraphrase a few parts here. And he says, I think an interesting topic for the podcast would be your thoughts on remakes of old video games. I figured that seeing as how in the last episode of DTS you talked about Nintendo dying, you should cover how they've been staying afloat. It doesn't just have to be Nintendo. There are a few remakes that have been developed or are in development. And the most important to me being Halo Combat Evolved, as Halo 2 was the very first Xbox game I played. Having the chance to play the first Halo in the series is quite a treat for me. Unfortunately, I don't know of any PS3 remakes other than Shadow of Colossus. I would say that I'm an Xbox 360 fanboy, but that would be unfair to the PS3 because I don't own one. So he says, love the podcast. It always brightens my day, and sorry for the run-on sentences.
Hey, it's fine, dude. Yeah, it's whatever.
Thanks for writing in, Josh. This is actually something that Viridian and I have talked about off the air, just among ourselves. But
I think we actually talked a little. Now that I think about it, we did talk a little bit briefly about this before.
Well, it's actually a kind of a recurring topic. Obviously every day, if you look in your, if you read anything on current events and what's going on in entertainment and media, everything right now is a remake, a reboot, right, a reimagining, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter whether it's a movie. It doesn't matter whether it's a game. Get this. There's actually some bands. No lie. I have two different bands that have remade their own album. Remade. Okay, I have re-recorded from scratch albums to re-release. And I'm like, okay.
Does it even sound different?
It does. It actually does, but not in a good way because the old album. So it's like, what the hell's the point of this,
Right.
It's just bizarre to me. But anyway, talking about remakes, why don't you start on this and talk about some games that need to be remade or your opinions on some games that already have been?
Well, when we bring this up, I always bring up Final Fantasy VII. And that's what I did last time. That's what it made me, because I was sitting here thinking of a game I wanted to see remade, and that's it.
Right.
But it got me thinking of kind of a different topic, and that's just kind of remakes of games that are recent, even, or not just remakes but revamps.
Right.
And the more we talked about Counterstrike and all that, picture this, Anakin. I don't know if you're a Halo fan. Are you a Halo fan?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
I dig some Halo.
Imagine Halo with Call of Duty controls and stuff like. I mean, just imagine being able to sprint around with that freedom feeling. That would be something amazing. That's something that I would like to see. But with today, or this decade anyway, seems to be the decade of remakes.
I mean, for everything.
People are what they're doing is the even in the movies especially, these guys are taking things that were from the past and they're trying to they're recycling. So you got Yogi Bear. Then what are they doing? The Smurfs.
Yep.
What, like 10 years ago they did Scooby Doo and Casper. Everything. So in that time, in this time of remakes, I think that we've seen a lot of the good ones remade. Mario was remade very well with the new Super Mario Brothers. That's what I wanted to see in a Mario game. Of course, they remade Mario, or they did Mario Galaxy. They keep evolving it, but we dissed the crap out of Nintendo last time.
Yeah, it was a little rough.
But so this time I want to really praise them for taking the effort to make a classic style Mario game with the new style graphics, adding in the new power ups and stuff like that, and it really does make you feel like you're going home. You're going back to those days when you first popped in Super Mario World. But when it comes to remakes to games, I would love to see. I'm really just sitting here trying to think. I would like to see them remaster, and I'm not just talking about redo, because if there's one thing that I hate, it's and this goes along with the topic that we're going to talk about later. It's generational gaps between sequels. So if you put in Splinter Cell Conviction, you've got these great graphics, but sometimes I want to play the whole series, so I pop in Splinter Cell.
Oh. You can't play it. You just can't play it.
Oh man, the lighting effects are great, but the controls weren't refined and stuff like that. What I want to see them remake a whole series of games. So look, think about how much time this would take. Take Ratchet and Clank, for instance, and say, okay, we've got 1, 2, 1, Ratchet and Clank 1, then we got Going Commando, then we got Up Your Arsenal. Let's just redo the whole thing with the graphics that we use for the PS3, and remake all three of them, and put them as like I don't know, dude, you could charge $250 for that, those three games, because they are 3 full complete games.
Sure.
When I'm thinking of remakes, I'm thinking now of revamping graphics and stuff, of that nature, more than just taking a game and redoing it, from the ground up. Because I think they've done a really good job of taking the necessary games that were staples and continuing them in today, like Ninja Gaiden.
Sure, yeah. Even Mortal Kombat. I mean, look how far they has come.
Mortal Kombat for sure. And some of these older games they did. Now they're doing Kid Icarus.
Right.
That was just a random SNES game, and now they've got that coming back for the 3DS. So
right.
That's my thoughts on. What about you? What do you got?
Well,
what are you thinking?
The thing is, in general, here's my take on everything when it comes to remakes and so forth. I don't mind a reimagining. I don't mind if somebody took a B movie or a weak game title and said, you know what, there was a diamond in the rough there. Let's take that and really, make it something. Maybe it was a good idea, but they just didn't have the budget. And that's especially true with movies. I've seen some real schlock. These B movies that somebody recommended to me, and it's like I can't even hardly get through the first 5 minutes. And then if I go ahead and torture, and just face the torture and go ahead and get all the way through it, by the end of the movie, I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea. This is an amazing story. But, this guy filmed it in his garage.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
And games are no different. You got a simple game developer. Sometimes even some of these, look at Angry Birds, for crying out loud. This thing is huge now, but it was a well-polished game, but it was still made by just basically at somebody's house, and now it's turned into this, mega corporation by itself. But the thing is, things can be done on a small budget and become classics, and then if you take that idea and then actually throw money at it and throw big name talent and so forth, sometimes you can truly, reimagine it and remake the game or movie or whatever it is into something very, very special. And so that's my opinion on the idea of remakes and so forth. I hate them. In fact, me and my wife just the other night, we watched the trailer for Footloose, Which,
yeah.
I mean, oh my God, this is unbelievable. This movie, I don't even know who's, I think maybe it was Zac Efron or something who's starring in this, okay, and Kevin Bacon was in the original. The thing is I thought, all right, they're going to remake Footloose, okay? It's like, oh, jeez. It wasn't even that great a movie to begin with. But, maybe they're going to do it and modernize it and, kind of, really bring it into the modern times. Well, they didn't. They placed it in the same exact time period as the original story. They literally look like they remade the movie almost scene for scene. And I'm just like, what?
What's the point?
What's the point? Right. It's like there is nothing that this new movie brings to the table. It does not need to exist. And this was there was another movie a while back, by the way, that did this. They remade, of all movies, I couldn't believe this. They remade Psycho. It was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. They remade the original Psycho, the Alfred Hitchcock movie from the late 60s, I think it was. They remade it, no lie, I'm not making this up, look it up, shot for shot. They literally framed the shots exactly the way that the original movie was set up. And the movie was exactly the same length. So they remade the movie with modern technology and different actors, literally shot for shot. So the editing was already done, And it was like, what? Why does this movie exist? It doesn't make any sense.
Somebody thought this was a good idea, and why? Yeah, exactly. It's I have a great example of exactly what you're talking about. I could not believe, I literally had to be. They were twisting my arm to watch this movie. So one of my favorite movies in the world is Disney's Beauty and the Beast. Very good movie. Very good animated film.
Good one.
And my brother, I was in Texas, a month or two ago, and he's like, there's a movie I've really been wanting to see. And my brother, he has very good taste when it comes to editing, directing, and stuff like that. But for some reason, he likes these really crappy movies. And he gets off on watching these really shitty films. And he's like, yeah, there's this film called Beastly I wanted to see. And I was like, okay. Yeah. I had no idea what it was. Never even heard of it. And I look at the cover, and it's got, this weird-looking dude on it. And then it's got Vanessa Hudgens, right with something like that. I was like, oh, God, what the hell is this? So I asked him. I said, what is this? Oh, well, this is the reimagining of Beauty and the Beast, in a modern time.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped for a minute, and I was like, what? Excuse me? And so we put it in, and I was puking almost halfway through. I was just like, really, buddy? And in my mind, I'm playing out an amazing film that is winning Oscars, because I made it. I in my mind, sitting here going, this is how it should have been. This is what it should have been like. It would have been. Can you imagine? I mean, like I told you earlier, off the air, I just watched The Incredible Hulk.
Right. Yeah.
And to see this, these CG animations, and a lot of people harp on this crap, and I'm so tired of it. Some of these purists, these old film guys, oh, I liked it when they used the original puppets and shit. Now they use all the CG. Get over it, okay? Being these old pieces of crap. It's like, you sound like an old person going, we didn't use computers, we had a typewriter, and shut up. So they use these CG animations, and they're great looking, I mean, they look great. And can you imagine using CG animation, using actual French actresses and actors and whatnot to recreate, the Beauty and the Beast that we know, and give it some type of a twist, give it a reimagining, but make it for real. So if you don't know this Beastly thing, it's about this spoiled brat who basically has everything in the world, and one of the freaking Olsen twins curses him to make him look ugly. But he doesn't look ugly. He looks like a badass. I mean, he might have veins popping out everywhere, but he looks like an evil badass boss. If you walk down the street like that, nobody's going to mess with you. If anything, they think it was just body modification. And I'm just like, this is so stupid. And Vanessa Hudgens can't act for crap anyway.
Right.
And So it was such an insult to such a great story. So I know what you mean.
Well, and that's the thing too with with movies. Obviously, there's just tons of stuff out there that it just every year it gets done and redone and redone, and it doesn't make any sense to me on that there's so many great stories that have yet to be told in cinema. I have some friends of mine I go to lunch with, I work with them, and one of the things that is a recurring topic for us is a lot of the fantasy and sci-fi novels that we read. In fact, just even straight fiction novels. There's just unbelievable stories that are just fantastic that have never been told in some visual format, and
right.
Yet we go to the damn summer blockbuster movie lineup every year, and it's like about every 5 to 10 years. It's like everything you saw over the last 5 to 10 years is now going to be recycled and they start fresh. Obviously a big example of this was the Batman franchise. Now, here's the thing, obviously the old Batman series from the 60s, with the kapow and bam and poof and all that. Yeah, obviously it was campy and cheesy and all that. A lot of people liked it, but it was campy. And obviously if you wanted to do this dark and gritty version, well, okay, that's fine. And they Tim Burton tackled that back in 89, I think it was, whenever the original Batman with Michael Keaton came out, and it was like, wow, okay, this is pretty cool. I remember watching it at the theater, and I was like, wow, this is a really neat reimagining of that character. Well, of course, no one could have predicted that Chris Nolan would have come out with the original Batman Begins, and just made that character so much more relevant to today's times and this dark, really, really dark and gritty side, and make it an actual serious movie. And then, of course, even step it one more step forward with The Dark Knight. And, these kinds of remakes where the story and the character and everything evolve and they become more modernized or whatever. And the budget is big, and they can do the things that you want out of a series like that. I have no problem with that. That was, if you look at the entire storyline of Batman in every version told up until now, I am extremely happy in where we are with that current franchise. But, like you said, Beauty and the Beast is this timeless classic story that could easily, be an Oscar-worthy, movie with the right budget, the right director, the right actors and so forth. But, no. They make something ridiculous and campy that is catering to the Twilight crowd with this beastly nonsense, I have no idea whether it was actually a financial success. I knew about the movie when it came out. I knew Vanessa Hudgens was in it. Of course, at that point, immediately I knew, to discredit it.
Yes.
So at that point, it's very much it's a shame that it was just so, there's great ideas out there, but that's the kind that we don't need. And, and here's the other thing. When again, going back to what we're supposed to be talking about, which is video games, some people are excited about the original Halo, to be able to play the original Halo and see it in the new graphics and, and all that. And I think that is neat. But let me tell you, the one thing I'm against, and this goes for movies as well, okay? But even more so for games. What I'm against, and let me clarify this before I go any further with that statement, okay? With a movie, if the movie is remade, now this does not take into account that bizarre Psycho movie that was literally a shot for shot remake. When you remake a movie, no matter what, good or bad, you're going to get a new experience. It's new actors, it's new sets, new takes. The screenplay is usually rewritten. It doesn't matter whether the story's the same, you're getting a new experience out of it. But here's the thing. A game is still the same game, and the only thing that usually ever changes when they do a remake, an HD upgrade, a reimagining, whatever it is, okay? A game is still the same, and the graphics are almost always the only thing that changes. And I don't appreciate developers wanting to double dip out of my wallet, because that's what it boils down to.
You're right. I do feel what you're saying, and I think it would be neat to have a Halo experience. Yeah, remade, retold, but I mean, imagine having some of the downtime that we had during the first game, kind of extra missions, kind of flushing out some stuff, or
Right.
extra dialogue that we didn't hear the first time, or something like that. I know what you mean.
Now, and you see, if they bring some more, if they bring some more of that to the table, if they don't just slap some new graphics on it, and then maybe improve some of the input lag on the controller, maybe improve the network code or whatever, that's fine. But if I'm going to give you more money for what you already made 10 years ago, I better get something out of it, And for example, on having said that, you had mentioned the Shadow of the Colossus and Eco. Both of those games, I missed those in their heyday. Okay, I missed them. I want to go back and play them. I'm interested in them, and I even was going to go as far as go and get an emulator and actually be able to play those games. But right around the time I was thinking about doing that, they made the announcement for now the HD versions. And I'm like, okay, now hang on. Okay, as an individual that did not play those games with the HD remakes.
Perfect, yeah. It's a perfect op, yeah.
Exactly. I'm on board. I am the audience that should be catering to. You don't need to change the game. Just give me a little bit more modernized version, and I'm already sold. I want to play those games. But with Halo, it just seems like I just don't think they're giving that much new with the game, and it bothers me a little bit that they're going to try to charge as much as they are.
Well, and with Halo, I think this might have been in the email, but with Halo, they should have redone Halo 2 as well.
Right, I agree.
The thing is that now you created a complete set that's not, or you've completed a set that's not complete, is what you did. So now you've got an HD good-looking Halo 1, good-looking Halo 3, good-looking Reach, ODST, and now what, Halo 2 just doesn't get anything?
Right, exactly.
It's just sitting there barren? Or wait, is that next year's, piece of the pie?
And hey, it might be, they may say, hey, you guys loved the original Halo remade, we're going to remake Halo 2.
Well, they will. It was the most successful Xbox Live online game ever.
Right.
I mean, Jesus, when they shut down Xbox, there were still people, literally, they didn't turn off their Xboxes for like how long? Jeez, it was like weeks.
Yeah.
Just so that they didn't have to stop playing Halo 2 online. They didn't turn them off.
Exactly.
And I can't even remember. Bungie even gave these people things. I can't remember what they gave them, but
I remember. Yeah, I remember it was a huge deal. Yeah, that was. I mean, obviously, and I'm not even picking on Halo. In fact, I'm not even really against the idea that Halo is being released, as a new upgraded version. I'm not even really against it. It's just that if you're gonna, I almost feel like if you own the original Halo, or if you even own, like, if you own, several Halo games and you've got the original, game discs and the UPC code on the case or something, like if you go in and enter all these codes in or whatever, you can just get the damn HD remake for free or even for $5 or something. But when they want to release this as like a major launch title, I think they want like $30 for it or something. Is what?
Do they really?
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, hang on here, This is not a release that warrants that kind of money. Okay, I don't believe that. So,
I don't either.
So anyway,
and I'm a huge fan. So
yeah, and I mean, again, I'm a fan of the Halo franchise as well. I would, in fact, one of my favorite Halo games was the first one. I really liked it. And I'm not against it. Like I said, I mean, I'm picking on it, but I'm not really against the idea of re-releasing it. But I just want something more for it. I want, if you're going to charge me that much, there'd better be something. And let me tell you a good example of that. They re-released the Escape from Butcher Bay, the Chronicles of Riddick game.
Oh, exactly.
When they put out the second game, they re-released the first game as an updated game engine, with new features and everything. They gave it to you for free with the new Riddick game. That's the way that you want to sell me. That's the way to sell me.
That was an excellent idea. I mean, that was perfect. And that kind of goes back with me because I never got to play the original, and I never would have.
Right, exactly.
And then the exact opposite with you. You had played the original, but now you're getting to play it again. But you get the sequel, and I mean it's just an added, just perfect little bonus.
And honestly, it's like Halo Reach was like this massive launch title. They were like it made into a huge deal. ODST was not marketed and hyped like Reach was. Reach was just huge, and obviously it sold. They knew it was going to sell, but they could have done something like, the special edition, whatever, collector's edition they wanted to do. What they should have done, instead of give you some stupid little figure or a paper map or some goofy thing like they always give in these collector's editions, give me the HD version of Halo 1.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
I would have paid an extra $10, to get the collector's version of Halo Reach if I got the HD version of Halo 1. But they knew they could hold off and do exactly what they're doing, which is basically release it as a mid-range title. And I just don't agree with that. I just don't feel like that's cost effective for me.
I totally agree. I actually do agree. Unfortunately, I will be paying. Well, I'm not going to be paying $30, but I'll wait for it to go down probably to about 15 because that just happens to be one of my favorite games of all time, and I have played Eco and Shadow of the Colossus. However, again, these are three of the best games ever created, or two of the best games ever created, in my opinion. Shadow of the Colossus, which, if you've not played that, Anakin,
I have not.
When you do, you will understand. I give you 100%. It's one of the most fantastic games, and if I had to rate it on a scale of best games ever made, it would be in the top 10, and it would probably be in the top 5.
Well, honestly, you say nothing different than everything I've ever heard about it, and I don't think I've ever read anything bad about either one of those games.
No, there is. I looked, because if you go on GameFAQs, you can go to the review section for any game ever made, and there's a user review that's horrible. And I checked. It's been a couple of years. I looked on there. I was like, "What could you say?" There wasn't one. It's like even if you tried. I can take any game. I could, I could take Portal 2. Great game, and I could sit there and I could pick that crap apart.
Sure, of course, yeah.
I could literally just say, I could make it sound like the worst game ever made. I'm like, this stupid chatty freaking orb. Won't you shut the hell up and leave me alone? Blah, 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 chatting in my ear. I got to do this. I got to do that. Why do I... This game, there's nothing to say about it. It's just like, it's grander, It's like, wow, this is insane. And to think that they did it. The thing is that the graphics were so mind-boggling on the PS2. It pushed the system to a situation, or to a level that was just unthought of. And it's not that it looked uber realistic, had all these polygons and shading and crap. It's really it's hard to describe. But to be able to see this in widescreen HD is going to be one of the best experiences, I think, of the year, if it releases this year.
Yeah, and in fact, speaking of it, it is being released very soon. I think it's a late August, early September release, because I got
crap. Are you serious?
Oh yeah, it's like on the horizon here, and I got a deal from, I got an email from Newegg, saying, I could go ahead and do the pre-order on it or whatever, and get it, get it launch day or whatever. And they were going to give me like $10 off. And for both games on one disc, the HD versions of them, they only want $30.
No, I know.
I mean, that's
amazing.
That's a good. See, give me 2 games for $30. Don't give me Halo 1. Give me Halo 1 and something else for $30. I mean, it's just, again, I'm the target audience for Shadow of the Colossus here because I never played it, but I'm all over it, and especially giving, Eco, I think was not nearly as big a release as Shadow of the Colossus was.
No, it wasn't, and the thing is that Japan, they really, the Team Eco is it's one of those like. It's like if you ever go to Japan and like you're walking down the street and you see like this little, it looks like a closet, and it's like, what the hell's in here? You walk inside and it's like got 3 chairs. You sit down, you order some food, and it's literally the best tasting food you've ever eaten. That's exactly what Team Eco was. And I remember the only way I ever found out about Eco was, when you used to get those PSM or the PlayStation Magazine, they came with that little bonus disc.
Yep.
And they were talking about it, and they kept showing it, and I was like, "Huh, that's it's one of those games. It's just like it's not a normal game. You hear first person shooter, you know what you're going to play,
right?
Okay, this game, it's nothing. The point of the game is to get out of the castle. You're moving a princess along. It's basically a puzzle game, and you're holding her hand the whole way. You're helping her. She can't jump from large, places, so you got to, pick her up and carry her up stuff, and and sometimes the darkness will come out of the ground, and you got to knock it away. Make sure that it stays away, and that's the extent of the combat. The main plot of the game is to get this little girl out of the castle.
Right.
And then you've got Shadow of the Colossus, which takes a whole nother approach, and it's different. And it's basically a huge boss rush. There aren't any stages, there aren't any obstacles. It's literally just bosses. And it's like, okay, there's a boss to the east, here's a sword that'll help you find him, and then the puzzle is figuring out how to kill him, how to take him down. But the thing about the game that makes it so good is that these beasts are like majestic, Right. You don't know how, you don't know why you're trying to hurt them. All you know is that to save the love of your life, or whoever she is, you really don't know, you have to take him down, and you can really feel his pain as he kills him and takes him out one by one. So anyway, we got on a tangent.
I'm looking forward to it. There's no doubt. And again, talking about remakes, those I think are extremely valid. That's something that I have no problem with. Some other remakes that would be nice, and this is kind of for nostalgia's sake, more than anything else, but I really wish somebody would remake the original Doom or Doom 2, either one, really. Yeah. And you try to go back and you just can't, and if you could remake those in modern graphics, and I mean really do it right, that it could be an amazingly fun game, and that would be one. And then another game, by the way, that actually is being remade, or at least if rumor has it. There was another little tidbit in the news this week that I think Kotaku picked up on. Alpha Centauri by Firaxis. That was a huge, critically acclaimed game back in early 2000, I think, maybe late 90s. I forget exactly when it came out.
I didn't even play that.
It was basically Civilization in space,
Right,
I mean,
that's what I thought it was.
But let me tell you, I had a buddy of mine that was like so unbelievably into the game. Okay, I mean, he just played the hell out of it. I mean, it was just, he felt like it was one of the best games ever made. And I tried to play it, and a buddy of mine tried to play it, and we looked at the graphics. And we were just like, oh, God, this is awful. It's like, what is that big brown speck next to the big green speck? It was like, and I still joke with him about it all this, after all this time. And the thing is this was a fantastically made game. And yet, at the time, I don't know whether it was a limitation or whether it was just a choice of resources, or maybe it was just a poor art director. I don't know. But the graphics were so awful for the time. Okay, and I mean, really, this was, other games that had come out around this time period looked great. And for whatever reason, this game was so bad looking that you just couldn't hardly get past the graphics to actually enjoy the game. It was that bad. Right. And the thing is that, if there was ever a game that warranted a remake, that it's that one. And this week, the Alpha Centauri name and URL was basically reactivated, and set up by Sid Meier's company. And it looks like they're going to do either a reimagining, a remake, a reboot, whatever you want to call it. That's the speculation right now in the world of gaming news, is that now that has happened, that it's been re-registered, it looks like that franchise may come back to life. They may call it Alpha Centauri 2, but it's kind of like Civilization 5. I mean, it was just or Diablo 3. I mean, it's still the same basic game, with some modern improvements. It might as well be a remake at that point, which I'm perfectly fine with. If you want to talk about remakes that are needed and not necessarily a cash grab, Alpha Centauri, I think, will be a good one for that.
Yeah, and we could go on all day about games that need it. They did a good service by remaking the Donkey Kong game, which that was awesome. If you haven't seen my Let's Play of that, you know how much I love that game.
Absolutely.
And then the one that they really need to do is Kirby, I think, because Epic Yarn was not what Nintendo always tries to do these funky things, and it was just like, really, dude, but that we had Punch Out, awesome. I mean, a lot of these remakes, they are reimaginings. They take a game and it's they just do it. They do it right.
Right.
And,
exactly.
There's a ton of games. We could go on all day about this stuff.
And by the way, I want to hit on another email here that actually ties into what we're discussing, and I want to make sure she gets credit for it because she is a huge fan of the podcast. I know she's written in several times. Trisanata, which we've actually mentioned on the podcast before. She's a constant communicator with us. She leaves comments, she writes emails, and it's, we really appreciate that. She did mention, she wrote in and said, "Hey, have you ever gone back to an older game after a few years and were shocked by the graphics, swearing, 'I remember them being better than this,' It's amazing how all the graphics change without us realizing it." She says, "I recently went back to playing Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets." This is the game that she's referring to. And she said it was a game she really enjoyed as a kid. And she said she laughed the entire time because the trees looked like 2D cutouts.
Uh-huh.
And, she says, "Have you ever experienced this?" Well, the thing is, I don't want to start this as a new topic, but because this is so relevant to what we're talking about right now, especially with things like Doom and Alpha Centauri that I brought up, these are games that, the graphics, if you tried to go back and play them right now, it is literally impossible to sit down and try to go back.
Well, there are games that these are. I look at these hard to play graphically games as. I'm trying to think of how to word this. If you go back and you play Super Mario Brothers 3 on the NES, the graphics aren't going to bother you.
Yeah, it's an artistic style.
Right. That's the way it was meant to be played. If you go back and play Eco on the PS2, you're not going to be bothered. Beautiful Joe, I've been playing that. That's one of those games. However, I know what Trisanata's talking about. I know what she means. There's these games like shoot, man, what was that game? I mean, even going back and playing a COD game, the first Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, it's
like, what the flip? Why is this? I even find some of this stuff and going back and playing Mario 64. If you haven't done that in a while, turn on your old N64. Look at Mario. Not only that, look at Bowser. He looks nothing like Bowser.
Right.
You look at him, you're like, what the hell? How did I think this was good? It wasn't good. It was different, and that's what we were gawking about.
Well, one of my favorite games. I mentioned this on the podcast before too. One of my favorite games of all time was the Descent franchise, and I actually, because they still haven't really revitalized that franchise, I actually loaded up a somewhat modernized version of the Descent 2 engine recently, and I said, "Man, I'm going to play this because it was such an amazing game. I'm gonna go back to this and I'm going to play it right now." I loaded it up and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Yeah. It was like it was like somebody just threw up a bunch of pixels on my screen, and I just could not play it. It looked so terrible. It was the highest resolution that the game offered at the time was 800 by 600. Can you believe that?
800 by 600.
And I mean, it was, there was no anti-aliasing, there was no, anisotropic filtering, there was no, none of that. Okay, it was just so bad. It was just a bunch of pixels on the screen that were, different colors, and it just looks so terrible. And yes, Tristan and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. My big thing with the trees. Trees have always been a hard thing for game developers to work with because there's a lot to do there. It's like it comes down to either in the beginning it was the space, because a tree is a lot. There's a lot of trees,
right?
And they take up a lot of graphics. So what they would do,
they would
sprites,
make.
They would use a sprite. So there's two ways they would do it. One, they would make a cross, and then they would run the cross up, so that no matter how you looked at it, it always looked like it was, it looked like a tree stump. And then they did the same thing with the leaves. Or they made a rotating sprite that just literally followed the camera around no matter how you went.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's things like that you go back and you're just like, oh, God.
I remember when I played the original Far Cry, the very first one, and that was the first game that ever I felt like when I was walking through like the jungle, I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Yeah. How did they render all these leaves?
Exactly.
Huge step forward in gaming.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing: if you go, if you don't know what I'm talking about with the trees, do this in Modern Warfare. Go into the map array in theater mode, and go outside the map and look. So the trees inside the map are rendered, but if you go outside, they didn't put much care into the trees outside, so you can look out there and see what I'm talking about. I'm looking at it right now. I'm actually on Modern Warfare.
That's awesome.
They're literally crosses. They're not even, because you don't think to look out there.
Right.
It's just a background, and this is what it actually looked like in the game. And I was telling Anakin before, 007. Go look at that. That's hilarious.
Oh man, yeah, good old GoldenEye. It's
the original.
It's unplayable now. Really.
It's unplayable. It's so bad, and it takes you back to say, this was a good game in the day. Now it's crap.
Exactly.
Back in the day, this was prime, but.
Here's another one that actually kind of needs a remake. I think is Dead Island. I swear I'm going to pick on this game until it comes out, because let me tell you, I'm telling you, I think this game is going to be a huge flop. The reason that I had to pick on it, because they had another trailer released, okay, and they showed gameplay in it. And the gameplay looks so freaking bad. And I don't understand it, because I read the comments on the article that I was looking at. I read the comments down below, and everybody was like, oh my God, this game's going to be amazing. And I'm like, you know what? They already need a remake of this.
I haven't been keeping up with the game. I don't see this game being, I know it's not going to be like, oh my God, everybody knows what Dead Island is. But I don't see it being that bad. I see it as being a mediocre game, like maybe an 8 or a 7 or an 8.
I actually think it's probably going to be once it actually makes it, I think it's going to be a failure. I think it's probably going to pop out. It's going to be not good, and I think it's probably going to be more like a 4 or 5. I honestly do. I just feel like, man, I'm telling you, I got a weird vibe from those trailers, and I know zombies are all the rage right now. Okay, but let me tell you, man, I just feel like the original trailer that they put out, and the hype for that game, it is so overwhelming. There is no way that this game had the budget or the resources or the talent behind it to live up to that original trailer. And that original trailer right now, I swear to you, is what is propelling that title into the stratosphere right now for gamers. I guarantee you, had that original trailer not been put out, this game would have been so low on the radar that it would have come and gone, and I guarantee you we would never even have mentioned it on this podcast. But now that original trailer came out, took the internet by storm, now they've finally released these little gameplay trailers over the last couple of months. People are still going, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. But I'm telling you, I looked at it and I saw a lot of flaws and some major gameplay issues that I just don't think.
What are you talking about?
Let me tell you, a couple of the major things is the first-person view of you as the character, your arms, your legs, when you kick people, when you reach out and do things, when you're holding a blunt melee weapon of some sort. It looks seriously like the kind of graphics and the kind of gameplay mechanics from 10 years ago. I'm telling you, mark my words. You guys have heard it from me on this podcast before. I am picking on this game. I will say I'm picking on this game because I think that there's no way it's going to live up to its reputation.
I am very, very curious to see about this because you're really adamant about the way you feel about it.
I'm telling you.
Which is odd.
I know. Usually I'm pretty upbeat. I'm usually pretty positive, but on this game, I just feel like, I don't know. I think it's probably going to be the biggest disappointment of 2011. Yeah.
Well, I don't have any. I'm not tied to zombies. I am no way, a huge fan of the undead. So I'm not going to be disappointed. I am, however, a fan of open world games, which is something that this is. The freedom of an open world game is something I do cherish.
I love it too.
I hope that that's enough to fuel it for me. I can look past a few goofy hand and foot animations, but there was some really interesting things. I thought you can drive vehicles,
right,
and then you can bust out the front windows to shoot through them. I thought that was pretty cool. That seemed pretty neat. And I'm not sitting here saying this is going to make the game or anything, but I'm just pointing out these little things. I mean, that you can do to it's just. These little things are what make a game for me, when, like in Far Cry, when your car breaks, so guess what? You got to get out and fix it.
True, yeah.
They're sitting there like bashing, there's a zombie on the window and she's like slamming the door or something and kicking out the freaking windshield because it's cracked, it's cracked. You can't see through it while you're driving. So she's trying to knock it out so she can see where the hell she's driving, as if it would matter because she's a woman anyway. But I was bad.
Good God.
I was kidding. That was a joke.
There went 25% of our fan base.
15. I looked at it earlier.
15. Fantastic.
But
that's awesome.
But anyway, that's all I got, man. Remakes. Well, I love what PS3 is doing by bringing some of these old school classics back with an HD twist. It's literally gotten me to play some games I never did, like the Sly series, the God of War series.
Wipeout HD. I picked up that as one of my freebies from PSN. It's decent. I mean, it looks good. I wouldn't have bought it.
I wouldn't. Me neither. I haven't played it enough to even justify the freebie.
Same for me. I seriously, I got it as one of the freebies because I already owned a Little Big Planet, so I was like, well, shit, there's not much else, so I'll go ahead and take the Wipeout HD. I seriously, I spent maybe 30 minutes playing it, and then I was like, I'm done. I'll probably never load it again.
Yep. Well, if they're listening to me, just remake Psychonauts in HD and put it on a damn disc.
See, there's a game that that is a valid choice for a remake. It didn't get the attention it deserved. Another one, Grim Fandango. That was another one.
Yeah.
Again, the graphics in that are timeless, but it's not necessarily about the graphics. Just make it work on modern consoles. Just give me the game again.
And Tim Schafer made it.
Exactly. Yeah, there's the person I'm thinking of. Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, those are great games that did not get the attention they deserved. And, re-releasing those in some kind of HD format, widescreen format, whatever the case, that would be, a valid idea for a remake.
Well, it's amazing anyway. If you look at a game, look at Sly Cooper, made for the PS2. Just by them upgrading it to HD graphics, it looks like an HD game. It looks like a next-gen game.
Right.
It looks great.
I agree.
The God of Wars, they look great.
Yep.
They may not have the detail and level, of course, but they still do look good.
Sure.
And I like these. I like those ideas, but I mean, those aren't technically remakes. They're revamped.
Right.
But we talked about that. If I had to pick one game that they could remake, it would be Final Fantasy VII, and that's what I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to that one game.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone on that one. I think you'll probably get, a heck of a following. I know I've seen, it seems like petition after petition trying to get that game remade, after all these years. So I actually, I foresee that coming at some point, No,
I don't. No, actually, no, they don't. They won't do it. There was an article, and I don't even remember where it was at. And they what they did was, if you don't know, when the PlayStation 3 was being announced, they took Final Fantasy VII and they remade the intro to the game. So in the intro of Final Fantasy VII, you see a train pull up, Cloud Strife jumps off, whatever. Well, so to show off the PlayStation's power, they made a cinematic using the in-game engine to show what that would look like if they were to remake it. Stupid, retarded move, okay? Because they had no intention of actually remaking the game, but they implied it. You cannot tell me that by doing that, you're not implying that you're going to remake a damn game, okay? And so what people are sitting here, myself included, just absolutely pumped, because they never actually said they weren't going to do it.
Right.
Once Final Fantasy 13 was released, they come out with some article stating that in order to put every single piece of content that was in the original Final Fantasy VII with all the updated graphics and stuff, it would take like 10 times longer to do than it took them to make Final Fantasy 13. They said it would take upwards of 10 years to create the game.
That's hard to believe. I mean, it just sounds like an excuse on why they don't want to make it or something,
I would think the same thing. I would think the same thing if Final Fantasy 13 hadn't been as linear as it was.
Right.
But for them to put an open, free-roaming world for Final Fantasy VII, what you got to understand is every single location in that game was massive. They just limited you to what screens you could go to. I mean, if you look at Sector 7, which they could do it, they're just not going to. But this goes back to us talking about them the other day. How all they would have to do is remake this game, and they would be set for life.
Right.
This game would sell. You would sell 8 billion copies of this game, within a year. It's absolutely ludicrous. So
I have no doubt. Yeah, I believe it too. And it's just one of those weird things. I don't know why they wouldn't follow through with it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't know what their deal is. Anyway, let's hope they pull their heads out of their asses and do something, for me.
Indeed.
And everyone else who's a fan. But anyway.
Well, I've got a couple of things that I want to hit on here before we move on and sign off. But
yeah.
I have a slight rant, and it actually applies to some of the things that you've been doing recently, because I actually decided to do some of the same kind of games that you've been spending time on. I mentioned last week I'm still in the middle of doing my Mass Effect franchise. I'm trying to get to the first one, finish it off, and get into the second one. I'm doing a little bit of Modern Warfare 2. I'm doing a little bit of Black Ops still here and there. Of course, my Rock Band 3 stuff and all that. By the way, completely off topic, even from the change of topic that I said, I picked up Dead Rising 2, the Zombrex edition, which is actually the crazy, collector's edition or whatever. I got it for $10 new.
Yeah.
I know it's fairly,
That's relatively deal,
new. It's relatively new, but I have never actually played either of the Dead Risings, so I'm actually kind of excited to open it up.
Let me warn you.
Uh-oh.
That game is not... that game is... It's one of those, literally, you either love it or you absolutely hate it.
Really? Shoot.
Yeah.
I picked it up for $10. It is a collector's edition and all that other garbage in there. And I thought, I remember this coming out not even a few months ago. So I figured, well, what the heck, brand new Xbox game with all the crazy extras for $10. I'm on board. I thought it got pretty well received.
It's one of those games that you have to play multiple times, even to just complete the game. Because, I mean, it is so weird. It's one of the weirdest games I've ever played. You play through it. You're timed the whole game. So you literally have real time. So it's like, okay, I have 72 hours, blah, blah, blah. Time moves, it's like every 15 minutes is an hour. And you have to do this at this time. You've got a certain amount of time to get all the way across the mall and get this done, and this done, and this done. Well, the thing is that you're going to start out at level 1. You're going to kick ass all the way up, and you're going to get to level 13. You're going to fail. When you restart the game, you have the option to say, okay, I'm going to keep my level, but I'm going to start the game over. And then you pretty much are just grinding until you're able to do every single thing in the game. But the thing is that you might like it. I don't know. I personally sold it when I got it.
Really? Well,
first day.
God dang it! No wonder it was like $10 for this, because I figured, well, what the hell?
It got great ratings. It's just one of those games you have to. It's just different. I mean, I think it got 8s and 9s.
Yeah, I thought it got pretty darn good reviews. And I mean, for $10, it's going to be hard for me to go wrong, regardless. Even if I play an hour of it, I mean, I'll probably get my money's worth out of something like that.
You definitely will. I mean, if you go onto my channel, I did a Let's Play of the prequel to it.
Right, I know you did one for the original, right?
No, it was Dead Rising Case Zero. It was the prequel to that game.
Oh, right. That's right.
And so I did a Let's Play of that. But the thing is that you really have to take the time to learn your map, learn the weapons. In that game, you can craft weapons together. It's hilarious, man. When you get a zombie granny in a wheelchair and you've got chainsaw blades attached to it and you're rolling it around killing zombies, there's nothing funnier than that. Or when you find like a little Scooty Puff Jr. trike bike and you're riding it around with
Jeez.
It is definitely hilarious.
Now that's stuff you can do in Dead Rising 2, or they didn't have the okay.
No, that's all. Yeah, you can do pretty much anything you want in that game. That's what's the fun about the game. It's one of those toy games,
Gotcha.
That you can just play with. Like you can run around. It's like, oh, I found a toy store. Let's go in here, and you can grab like a freaking, I don't know, like a little kid's, those Hulk fists.
Oh yeah.
And you can just start punching. It does no damage, but you can just still punch the crap out of anything with it. And it's really funny. I actually put on a Blanca outfit from Street Fighter, and my guy's running around. And the funniest thing about it is that you keep all of that crazy ass accessory stuff on during the cutscenes. So when there's like a really touching emotional thing with your daughter, I'm sitting there wearing a Blanca outfit and I got Hulk hands.
Fantastic. All right, see, I'm sold enough right there. I mean, that's worth $10 by itself.
Yeah, it was.
I'll play. I'll probably play that. That was something I picked up. It was pretty cheap, and I'm always in for a deal. But about my rant, okay. You've been doing a lot of these little Xbox Live Arcade games, and there's a trend in some of these new indie games that bothers me. Now, here's the deal. This is just me being, I guess, either old or what. I really don't know. But, I want to know your opinion on it, because you just got through with one that I'm about to rant about, and that is Super Meat Boy. You love that game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's my problem. And again, now here's the deal. I want to make sure, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because Super Meat Boy, from what I've seen, I have not played it, all right? That was one of those games, and what I mean by one of those, there's a new trend of these. It was one of those games that is literally a trial and error style game. You can't anticipate what you need to do until you actually fail at trying to do it. So, they give you a map or whatever, they give you the side-scrolling layout or whatever, and they only show you just a little bit, and then you jump and you think you're going to make it, and then you die. And you're like, oh, okay. Then you got to jump, and you realize, okay, I need to jump a little bit more. Okay, now I made it. And then immediately something kills you again. And then you're like, okay, now I know what I got to do. I got to jump, and then, and then it's like, okay, I'm dodge that, and then I died again. And the thing is, this is this is like this bizarre trend in these style games. I don't even know where this came from. Okay, I don't even know where this originated. But here's the deal: I started playing Limbo on the PC in the last couple of days. Okay. I wanted to just spend a little time, and I was like, I heard good things about Limbo. Let me pick this game up. It's pretty cheap over at Steam, and I was like, what the hell? I heard good things about this. I was kind of interested. Let me go ahead and play it. I started the game up. I start playing it, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. I get a call on my phone. I get a couple of things. I'm like, cool. All right, I'm going to come. And this was after I've already been frustrated with it because, again, it's one of those games you're not quite sure what you need to do until you die, and then you're like, oh, okay, let me figure out what they want me to do. Then you die again, and you're like, oh, okay, now you can't do that either. So then you get trained like you're one of Pavlov's dogs, into the, okay, move here, here, here. Okay, I'm past that puzzle now. Then you walk and walk and walk, and then you come to a new puzzle, and you're like, well, I wonder what they want you to do here. And then you just try the first thing that comes to mind, you die. And you're like, okay, all right, now I see what they want me, Anyway, that's the deal. But here's what really got me, okay? Freaking Limbo. I go to the menu to go save it. And I'm like, okay, well, it just says resume or start new game. Well, I guess it just, it saves at save points, or whatever. Well, let me go ahead and close out, and I'll come back to it, and later on. I come back the next day, and it starts the new game. And I'm like, well, what the hell? Maybe my game didn't save. Well, that's strange. So then I go ahead and start playing again. I play through the freaking game for like an hour, okay? And then once again, busy life, kids, wife, car, house, whatever whatever it is that came up, I get up from the system. I look to go save, and I'm like, oh, that's right. This thing probably saves an auto saves, or there's checkpoints or something. I close the game out. I walk away. This morning, I sat down for 5 minutes on my computer, and I was like, you know what? Let me get past that one little puzzle that I stopped at in Limbo. I load up the game. It starts the game over with. I get pissed. I start reading online, and I realize it's a developer. It's actually a choice by the developer to have done that. Basically, after they drove the knife into you, now they want to twist it a little bit more because of the irritating gameplay. Now they're going to screw you over by saying, oh, sorry, you got to play the entire game 4 hours long. You have to play the entire game in one sitting.
That's not... What?
Yes.
No, that's not how it worked for me. I never did that.
You're telling me you were able to save it?
Yeah.
I have this game right now on my system on Steam, and I cannot save it.
Yeah, I saved it. Yeah, it says continue or start new game. I never beat it. I beat it in one sitting my second time through, but I didn't play. Yeah, your first time through, it's going to take you a few hours.
Well,
I
then
can save
maybe
it.
I got a screwed up install because I'm I'm pulling up my Steam right now, and I'm gonna look at this. $10, and I'm telling you, I was pissed about this.
Yeah, something's wrong, man. Because hold on. Let me pull up mine. I'm gonna pull up my game right now. I'm gonna see what it says because that's absolutely weird. I've beaten the game multiple times. The point of that game is. It's like you were saying, it's a memory game. And the ultimate goal of Limbo is to beat the game in one sitting in under an hour or so. That's the ultimate goal. So it's kind of like your first time through, it's neat to see the deaths, it's kind of funny, and it's like, because it doesn't penalize you for it. You start right back where you were at. You know what I mean?
Okay.
On. And so, it's one of those things. It's like, oh, that was funny. Wow, his head just like kind of snipped off. Well, I know not to go there, or I know I need to drag this over there. The underlying, the creamy, chocolatey center of the game is when you get to, okay, now let's try and get through this game. Remember every single trap and do it within an hour in one sitting. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's like it's a chocolate caramel. You got caramel in the middle, you got the chocolate on the outside. It's 2 different flavors, 2 different things. So you can play it for the first time through, but it's not. Anyway, I'm loading up Limbo right now. Let's see what it says. You guys listening can't see this, but we're going to see if Anakin's copy screwed up or possibly they changed it for Steam. So I've got play. Yeah, I hit play and it says resume game, start new game, or load chapter.
Huh.
So I can load all of the, I think, 20 chapters in the game, where I can play them each individually. So
interesting, man. I don't know what
does your main menu say?
All it has is resume, start new game, or options, or whatever it is, settings and exit, and that's it.
So main menu doesn't say play, help options, achievements, leaderboards.
Not mine.
Wait, well, you just said it said resume game.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is if you go to the menu from the main game, you have resume, which means go back to the game. But it does not have resume after you come back to the game after closing it.
Yeah, see, I just hit resume, and I'm like halfway through the game. Just one of those.
I'm gonna reload it. I'm gonna reload it tonight from Steam. I'm gonna basically dump it and then reload it and see what the heck is going on.
Yeah, that's bullcrap, man. Yeah, I
thought. See, I read online there was people having the same problem as I'm having, and I don't understand it. It looked to me like it was purposeful from the developer.
Yeah, no, I understand it. No, but yeah, no, that I was when you said rant and then limbo in the same sentence, I was like, what the hell?
Don't get me wrong, I love the game. The game is amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's a really awesome game. And I don't know what the heck the deal is, but I can't seem to save in it. So I don't understand what's going on.
Well, we'll figure that out because you need to play through that. That was one of the funnest things ever was sitting down in one sitting and running through this game. I actually have a single time run through the game on my channel recorded. That was fun. And trying to remember all those darn death traps, just trying your hardest to figure them out and get through that game that quick. It's a pretty big achievement. So yeah, I can't wait till you get that fixed.
Unbelievable.
Well, anyway, if you guys have had a similar problem with Limbo on the Steam version, please let us know if maybe you know how to help Anakin out here, because as you guys know, again, don't use Steam, don't use don't play games on there. By the way, I also want to talk about something really quick. Psychonauts. A lot of you guys have been recommending I buy it on Steam. I don't. My computer won't play it. It's just not good enough. So that's the one thing. Somebody else said, dude, just go on Amazon. Well, you know what? I went on Amazon. You know how much they want for a copy of Psychonauts, Anakin?
Probably, that's one of those weird games that, they don't always put a deal on, because it's just not in high demand. I would guess they probably still want $10 for it or something.
$84 was for a new copy.
Wait, what?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Come on.
No lie, look it up right now.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
I was like, wait, what? And then I put it, because the guy put it in the comment. He's like, dude, go on Amazon. So I did. And then I said, dude, did you see what they want for it? And then somebody else put on there, yeah, dude, they rip you off pretty hardcore, sometimes. So
who is this?
I don't know. One of my fans actually put it. So,
but hang on, who is this that wants that much money for it?
I don't know. It was somebody on Amazon.
Oh, you mean just an individual was trying to sell it for that much? Yeah,
I couldn't find it an Amazon price, but all the individuals, everybody on there, every single one, it's like $80, $80, $70. That was new. Used, they're asking $30, some dollars for it. Wow. I'm like, no, I'm not buying a used copy of this game when I bought 3 used copies and it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Bullshit. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know, and to anybody who offered to send me the game, thank you very much, and I will be taking you up on your offer once I get a PO box, because that would be great. And if you'd like to do a trade, I don't know. I'm cool with that. I'll trade you something for it. But anyway, man, I think next week should bring us a little bit more games to talk about. And
certainly. I mean, we're gonna, there's a few things starting to get close now. Finally, I know we got Deus Ex on the horizon here. We've got Gears of War 3 is still ramping up, and what's some of the other? We got a couple of big releases coming around the corner here. So hopefully, there'll be new info that we'll have to get a little further into the world of gaming next week.
Yeah, the world of gaming, and rather, talking about some of the new titles coming out that, hopefully we can shed some light on, like Deus Ex and stuff like that. But as the casts go, I do like to play these games and kind of tell you what I think about them, and so Death Spank is definitely one to check out. If you haven't played it before, it is an absolutely amazing title. Definitely worth the $15. And we were talking last week about playing games that we hadn't played in a while. This is a good time to play some games that you may not have thought to buy. And honestly, Xbox Live Arcade was never one that I thought very much about.
Yeah, same for me. I mean,
I just, it just never was appealing to me. I'm just like, well, I'm paying like half the money for half the game. No, That's not true. Death Spank is a very, very fun game, and not only that, it's one of those games that you could you could play again and still have the same amount of fun. So check it out. And I'm done.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that about covers it. We had a lot of good emails. I want to remind you guys to always send in your emails to podcastdownthescope@gmail.com, and we read every single one of them that comes in. And you guys send us, anything you want us to talk about. In fact, right now, is a great time if you want to hear your topic talked about on the air. This is definitely the time. Obviously later on in the year, there's going to be so many different games that we're going to be discussing and talking about and going over. We're not going to have a whole lot of time for user mail. So now is a prime time for that. And other than that, I think we've covered quite a bit. And we will see you guys, I guess, for crazy episode 30 next week. Can you believe it?
30?
Episode 30.
What are we going to do for that?
I don't know.
I'm just gonna get a cake.
We need to make the cake on the air live during the podcast.
That's a good idea. How would we do that? It's like
we can live stream. We can live stream. You bake a cake, live stream it on the air.
Baking a cake. There you go, baking the cake. What the hell would you do?
I would just listen.
Okay, yeah, fine. I'll do the work.
Exactly. Awesome.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So, anyway, for all you guys listening, we really do appreciate it. As always, it's fantastic. All the different, comments and user mail we get. It's what keeps us doing this thing, and we appreciate everything that you guys give back to us. So, that is it for us this week. This has been episode 29 of Down the Scope, and we will see you guys next time with episode 30. Thanks for listening.
Love you, no homo.
See you guys later.
God, I'm sorry about that.